All right, we just have only 2 more minutes. Thank you so much for your patience. I'm also going to try and quickly leave just a brief reminder for people that are not here so that they can be alert that it has started, and we will not be waiting once it's 10 minutes past 10. As I say, it's going to be very brief, so for everyone to get their chance of asking their own personal questions, it's important that everyone join. And while we're waiting, I also want to emphasize that if you've not booked your personal appointments, kindly please do so, because it's quite very key that you book your appointments on time. Um, no date has been fixed for Monday, so you've only got today and tomorrow. The personal appointment is where in-depth questions about your personal startup will be asked. So kindly book it if you've not. The link to that can be seen through the email that was sent. All right, so that's that. It's 10:10, and as I said, we are kickstarting. I would like to reiterate that this is being recorded, and that should in case you miss any part of it, you can always go back to the recording and play it as soon as you're done. And without any more further delay, I would want us to do a brief introduction. Mr. James, we can see your name, what you do, and the name of your startup is just fine. You could use the call messages, or you could unmute to say that. And then after Mr. James, Mr. Ahmad will equally do the same thing. So let's quickly have that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Adeniyi. Thank you for having me, and thank you for the opportunity. My name is Sonny Godwin James. I'm a Nigerian, and I based in Lagos, but currently in Ebonyi State. And I obtained my BSc in Ebonyi State University in applied biology, and I currently have working on a startup organization that is known as Edam Limited, which is majorly focused on agribusiness and focused on supply chain. And also, we're looking at solving a problem in the plantain supply chain. In the plantain industry. So currently, we run um, foods processing, packaging, and also supply chain. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. James. Mr. Ahmad.
Hello, sir. Good morning, everyone. Actually, my name is Additional Ahmad, a junior level animal production and health student for University of Agriculture. Actually, I'm an agribusiness, actually a startup as well. I do engage in bring animal care for productivity. Actually, I do engage in rabbit farming, likewise goat and ram, just for the provision of quality meat across the rural area in the Funa community. Thank you very much, sir.
All right, thank you so much, Ahmad, for that. Um, Thank you both of you for that. I am looking forward to our discussions in the coming appointments, so we can be able to get deep down into what you do and see what is possible with what we've got, right? So we could say, okay, can you guys move forward? And if you guys have to move forward, is everything good to do so, and without delays? Thank you so much, both of you, once again, for introducing yourself and your business and what you've been doing. So, of course, to make today's session, as I said, brief, I'm going to be reading now just some key things we'll be looking at, right? We'll be talking about the funding itself, which will involve the company that is having the funding in place in the first place, and then we're also going to be looking at why am I the one doing the whole recruitment? Why is my name the name you're seeing, right? Why is not the company's name that you're seeing directly as much as possible, right? What does the financing round looks like? Of course, and you're also going to be looking at who qualifies for this funding, right? In terms of the type of businesses, agribusinesses that qualifies, and the type of traction we want to see with what you do, right? Also, how to strengthen your chance, right? If you've got pitch deck, would you want to redesign it? You want to redo it, or if you don't have, how do you get pitch deck? You need to get pitch deck, right? Of course, if you don't have pitch deck, you have a good profile, and if you don't have a good profile, how do you get it in place, right? And have you done any form of financials on on your company, right? It's very very important. So, and if you've not, okay, that's not a big deal. How soon can we have it done, and what are the things that are required to have it done? Then, of course, throughout this process, right? After, should you make it forward going forward, what would my own role be in helping you ensure that you, besides getting the funding if you've been selected at the end of the day, is of course how to ensure that you're able to um, be productive with whatever it is you've been given. Because you see, there's something called funding and there's something called follow-up funding, right? But then the follow-up comes from what you've done with the funding, so you could be open to follow-ups. And that, of course, also we'll be looking at, um, if you don't have any of the stuff I mentioned earlier, is there a way the data a startup can help you, right? Achieve any of the documents you need to ensure that you're able to present your company in the best of lights, right? So these are the things that are going to be there that I'm going to be discussing on, and I'm going to be touching them real quick. So I would advise that if you've got questions that you would like to ask, please write them somewhere right now. It's very very important. So when the time for Q&A comes up, you ask them and we can be brief about it. Outside that as well, if you anything I say you have questions, you can always raise up your hand. There's a hand function on the call. You can always raise up your hand, and I'll be more than happy to. Once I can break the conversation, I'll be more than happy to ask what your question is, particularly about what I'm discussing. But if your question does not relate to what I'm discussing part time, I'll appreciate if you can wait till the end of the whole session and then ask your question, because there will be time allowed for that. But if the questions you want to ask is relating to what I'm saying in real time, right, then you could use the hand function to raise your hand so I can be able to take note of that. And then, of course, as soon as I can put a break on my flow of conversation, then, of course, I can take your question in and then we could answer it at real time. So that's that basically. I trust everyone got that. So going straight to what I discussed, yes, I think we had a new income, so a new startup join us. So thank you for joining. I think I've seen feedback. Agree up. You're welcome. Yes. Now about the funding. Well, Vested World is the name of the company that is giving out this fund, and they are a company that do not do they don't often put out public calls for funding, and they are very particular about getting people that they could fund, largely through referrals and personal connections, right? It's easier that way for them to access companies that they fund themselves, right? It helps a whole lot, right? If you look at them, yes, they funded some companies that I believe you must have heard of. Of course, they funded Sabi, right? And then, of course, if you've had before Tomato Juice, right? It's a popular startup that they funded, right? So it's not, they are not new to the Nigerian market. Of course, will operate across four African countries, but then, of course, they are not new to the African market as much as possible. So you can see that Tomato Juice is one of those that fund Sabi as well. These are Nigerian companies that they funded over time. So of course, we're hoping that eventually you'll be there, you'll join them, the startups, particularly of course if you make it through as much as possible. So that explains who the partners are that are putting up the fund in the first place as much as possible. Now, what's my role in all of this, right? So, of course, with my own vast experiences in terms of dealing in the agriculture sector, this is my ninth year in the sector. And of course, and I myself, I've founded a couple of companies and I've worked as consultant across major agricultural operations as well. And it's from those line of duties and experience that I've been able to build the portfolio that allows me help this company streamline possible companies to look into for their investment decisions, right? So that's what I am doing basically. So of course I've got a profile of my own. I've got my own personal website that you could get to understand who I am and what I do particularly. So you could follow me. What I do basically is I help agriculture startup a whole lot free than paid value, well, to ensure that they are able to build businesses that will thrive, businesses that will succeed, particularly as it relates to agricultural business. All right, welcome, Yusuf. Ololade, can you please mute your mic? Thank you for joining. So basically, I help startup achieve all of this. I put them in view, put their businesses in view to ensure that they don't miss anything important, particularly when it comes to building their businesses. It's quite a very challenging space, and sometimes what we just need most of the time is someone that would assist us in walking the paths. And you will be surprised how much successful businesses can become when they have someone to walk the paths with. And that's the truth as much as possible. Many businesses succeed when they have someone to walk the paths together with them. So of course, after this, you could of course check me out. It's not really a big deal. I don't think you need to do a lot of searching. Just going to Google and then type in my name, Adeniyi Shoremi, just as it is. I'm certain you get a lot of resources about my personality naturally. Of course, in the income message, in the email sent to you, you will notice I have a platform, a forum on WhatsApp, where this information, that was the first place I broke it in, right? And I broke this information there. This was the first place I dropped the information. So of course, just many informations like that, I break them first in my forum before I share with others that may have a need of it as much as possible. So of course, my role in all of this, I've just described it, and you've gotten briefed on it basically. So there's no magic. Of course, while I'm going to be doing the selection of the startups, I have no direct control over which of them get funded, right? My duty starts and end with presenting the final startup to the company, right? That's when my duty ends. It's only after the ones to be funded have been selected, that's when my job again picks up, where it will now be a case of now working alongside with you, ensuring that your data record, everything is in place, ensure that the money you're getting is used for what you've actually said you're going to use it for. Not that you get the money for building a business and then you get the money and then eventually you're using the money to do something else that is totally not related with what it is you've actually communicated as the value of or the use of the value you've received, right? So of course, I'll be working alongside with you to ensure that these things are put in place. Of course, if you don't have a strong digital presence, we're going to be doing that. Just think it as basically a business development support all through as much as possible. These are things that will be put in place for you to ensure that you succeed eventually. As I said, I would also state that I don't have full control over what company is funded. My duty, as I said, starts and end with selecting the final companies that are viable for funding, and I present them to the company called Vested World. It's a venture capitalist firm. I've shared my screen so you could see their website. But then if you want to check them out, I'm going to put their link in the call messages, and I also put my own personal link in the call messages. So you can read about people that is all doing all of these things so it doesn't look abstract to you. As I said, this meeting, I'm certain someone sent it to you as a private message. Not, you didn't just see it on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on news. No, that's not how. As I said, Vested was not about just dropping links out there. Even the private link that I gave to private people within my network alone, I generated a lot of people Now, we don't want it to now be every Tom, Dick, and Harry out there that is applying. We want to make sure that these are people that are verifiable agribusiness, so that to make sure that we're able to sift the value people easily. So thank you so much. And now in terms of the financing round, right? How much does Vested World invest in the companies that they're looking to, right? So typically, if you're selected for this investment, you'll be looking at a value between $300,000 and $1 million, right? These are the range of value you're looking to get as as funding, right? If Vested World decide to invest in any startups from the course, right, it's going to be between range of $300,000 to $1 million, and this is the cap, right? The cap for round is depending where you are in your only, right? And try your making and what you take as much as possible. So outside that, I've talked about everything you need to know about the funding. Now, who qualifies for this funding? Now, who qualifies? Yes. So there are two base people that qualifies in for this funding, right? So there is the people that are into farming, but then of course you want to go beyond farming, right? You've been farming for a while, but you want to go beyond farming. Pardon me, sorry. You've got good traction. You've been farming for a while, preferably more than 2 years. You've been farming for more than 2 years. You've been producing steadily, and there's an increase in your production. And then, of course, you are selling to a market. Now, you're not looking at expanding the market, right? Either by having more of those products and dealing with the market, or adding value to those products. So let's say, for example, you're into cassava as a case study is. Okay, are you converting this to flour and you have a market you can sell that flour to? Or are you converting it to, let's say, starch, and the market you're selling that starch to, right? These are possible options, but it's not limited to that alone. So also if you are, of course, looking into processing, right? Generally, like you've started processing on a lower scale, but you want to expand this processing line. You want to expand your market reach, fine. Or you're already in that space and you think tech as a space can help elevate what you do, right? Then of course this funding is also for you. Now you're already in the agri-tech space, right? You're already using tech as an enablement to meet your sales, and you think that there's more market for you to capture and there's more business for you to do, fine. Of course, these are businesses, a type of agribusinesses that qualifies. But as I said, they have to be agribusiness, and I believe everybody on this call, and even those not on this call that applied, are all from agribusiness space. Else, this is not where you should be. But because it is this particular opportunity created for agribusinesses and agri-techs. So that's the type of businesses. Now, talking about type of tractions that we expect to see. Of course, well, we don't want you to be, oh, I used to do this, I used to do that. No, I've done this is what I want to hear, right? In the past years, I've transacted this number of products, I've gained this number of clients, I've sold this number of products, and I've made this kind of value in revenue. Now, it doesn't matter that if you've made loss as well, of course, do not be scared to share them, right? It's not about the loss per se, because one of my duty as a business development specialist in the agricultural space, right, is to ensure that we look carefully, right, about what it is you're trying to do, and see what the value could be in it, to ensure that there's results for you, right? So if of course there's the business model you're dropping out and we believe is viable, the fact that you're making loss now is not a deterrent factor as to why that business could not thrive. Of course, it could be that we need to help you optimize your processes, to ensure that you are able to do the best or take out the best from that business, right? You see, every day businesses are expanding market shares in every market, right? Even the agricultural market, right? Businesses like yours are expanding their market share there. Of course, there are some businesses that are more viable than others, but then there's still business is one sector that can go wrong, right? Of course, the way of cricket can go wrong, and why we are every that is that we're able to put it in the country as much as possible. So we want to say traction, we want traction to be good, right? We want traction to be good as much as possible. We want to make sure that we're not speaking to someone that is still thinking or that is still in the early conceptualization stage. We don't just give us concept, right? We want to see what you want with the thing out wasn't you out along with it, but that wasn't you. One of that I mean line that way. If you've need to do this with this value, of course, what happens when we give you this value, right? And how does that change the ball game? What way do you see yourself if this value comes to you? So these are the things that we'll be looking at in the action part, right? Now, how to maintain your selling program, right? So, simple things pitch deck, which is like a primary fundamental. Because something like that, check. The question there is you need to get it right. Why you've applied? It's quite very tight. Inshallah, I was supposed to wrap all of this on Sunday and then present them on Monday. I've taken permission, however, to allow me the whole probably next week, towards the end of next week, to present the stops in this. I give questions to selecting it because the pick is very. I'm going to profile the picture. Those selected some of them to them, right? Because in case I don't know, some people's luck may shine and they may feel like, oh, let's take another one more look at companies that were not selected. And then the first thing they're going to be looking at is the pitch deck that is attached to those names, right? If they feel like, oh, we've seen the guys that have been selected and they are really great, but we need more people and let's look into those that are not selected. Because for me, I'm going to just arrange them selected and good prospects, terrible prospects, and all of them. I'm going to add your document or your profiles to them. Right. So of course, the benchmark is after a pitch deck. It sells what you're doing better. It's more like your tickets when you're not there to defend your company, the pitch deck is what's there to talk about you. So we want to make sure that it's there. If you've got that beautiful, we'll look at how we go optimize it. If it's great and no need for optimization, we'll just move on with it. But if it's they need to optimize, of course, I will give you guys where to optimize, and that's where the personal appointment comes in from. I feel only 4 people had booked their appointment so far out of 26 people. So if you're on the score and you've not booked your appointment, kindly go to the email back, look out for the appointment and book it. Preferably today and then tomorrow, late tomorrow, right? It doesn't hurt. Right. If there's now no time anymore on the appointment, of course you could reach out to me via email and then probably I'll fix you on a private time on Monday because Monday I didn't put out any time on Monday. My Mondays are usually very, very strained and busy. So as I said, book your appointment so we could look into your startup as soon as possible and the evaluation could come out. All right. Also, how companies been selected? I think I didn't put that here, but let me speak a bit on that. Right. Companies are going to select based on certain criteria and scores. Right. I'm a number oriented person. I do numbers a lot. I try to make sure that everything I try to think about, I put them in numbers. So if I'm speaking with you and I'm building with you, I put all your opportunities, all your prospect, all your value into numbers. And at the end of the day, that's how people are selected. And the numbers are there. So of course, if time permits, I will share you your overall score. And then of course, I will, of course, if I'm going to share the total tally of every applicant, of course, I would not be putting name attached to it. I will put all your names in code and then attach it to the score and then show you the overall score of all the applicants. Because at the end of the day, that's what I'm going to be using. I'm going to be sharing with the vested word guy partners so that they can see how you arrive at your score and why I think you may be great for investment or ripe for investment. So that's that. So as I said, pitch deck is primary. Now, business profile is just a good addition to your pitch deck, right? And then what makes the years of the partner tingles more? Financials, right? Have you had your company audited at least once, right? Yes, these things makes the years of the partner tingles because it gives them a window into how your company thrives, right? It gives them a window into how your company thrives. If you don't have it, of course, we'll look into if you're good enough, or your startup is good enough to work with. Of course, we could look into possible ways of getting your financials done. If your startup is great, of course, we could look into it. It doesn't have to be now. Pardon me. It doesn't have to be now, right? We could look into ways of getting your financials done to put more clarity into what you've communicated with us, so as much as possible. Yes, Mr. Ison, you raised up your hand.
Yeah, I didn't really get the part of the company that's going to be selected due to my service issue.
All right, all right. To ensure that we don't spend too much time, everything we are saying right now is recorded, and a link of that record will be sent. But I've already talked about companies that will be sent already, and I believe you'll be able to listen when the record version, the audio is sent, link to the audio is sent back. But then, of course, I would also touch back on it during the question and answer a little bit. And then, of course, anything you didn't get from there, you can always get from the recorded version. But I will still touch down a bit on it when I get to the question and answer. I hope that's fine. Okay, so I've talked about the pitch deck, the business profile and your financials as the key three things we are particular about. However, as I said, the most primary one you should have, that if you don't have right now, you have to get as soon as possible, is a pitch deck, right? If you don't have it, you have to get it as soon as possible. If you can, beautiful. If you can't, let us know as soon as possible. Now, as I said, I'll be working alongside you this journey. Now, in terms of equity, that because it's an equity finance, and I need to explain that it's an equity finance, it means that Vested will give you money, right, for those that qualify, and then they will take a stake in your company, right? And that stake right now will be presented to those that qualify. Of course, it's an agreement. You read it, you have to read it, and then if there's everything works right, fine. Because you see, the way funding works, for someone that have been that have gone through that stage before, like the whole documentation part of the funding process, of course, at the end of the day, they'll value your company, right, based on your operations that you've gotten into. They're going to do a valuation for your company, and that valuation takes into account both your future and past operations, right? Present, future, past operations. Take into account all of those things, and the evaluation is done for your company. And that valuation now is now based on how they invest into you. So if your valuation is say $3 million, and then you ask for $300,000, then it means that of course they are calling for a 10% of your company, right? But if they are asking that they want to get let's say 20% from your company, of course it's largely because your valuation is low, right? And then for that, right, so they are going to do evaluation of your company, and of course sometimes Vested will usually take a fixed interest rate, right? A fixed interest rate, but they will present either flexible or fixed interest rate. That will also invest on equity rates. They would communicate that with you ahead of time for those that are selected, and then you can decide to say yes, you can decide to say no. It is totally up to you, because I, as your partner in consultants throughout the whole journey, would ensure that of course you read it clearly, and you don't pick something out of duress. It's very important that you never pick a decision out of duress, right? So that's what I will be doing alongside with you. And of course, as I said, ensure that you succeed. That's the key part, right? Ensure that I succeed. I don't want my name hashed with challenges, so I'm going to be doing all I can, and everything I have to do, put into it to ensure that you succeed. Starting from even right away, of course, if you don't have a pitch deck, of course, there's Data is going to help you put up those things together. So Data has a pitch deck template that it uses for startups, and Data would help you do that. Of course, if you want to refine yours, Data will surely help you. Now, Data does not charge for this service. It charges, but for everyone in that is has applied for this, right? Data is not charging you. However, it's based on those that are selected. That's after the interview stage, right? Those that whose business is compelling but don't have um, pitch decks, or needs their pitch deck really need refining. Those are the people Data is going to attend to. Not everybody, whether viable or unviable, no. Data is going to be attending to the viable businesses that are selected with for prospects, and then we help them put in their business into a pitch deck visual that would allow for more robust understanding of their business. So that's what that will be doing. So with that stated, I have been able to touch all the points I itemized earlier that I was going to be touching. If you follow through with the email, you understand this meeting is supposed to be a 45 minutes meeting, which gives us 8 more minutes before the end. And of course, if there are question answers that span beyond that, we will be capping it maximally at 11 a.m. We won't go beyond 11, no matter what questions are available, because as I said, it's a brief meeting, and we've been able to accomplish the tasks that have been set for us. So as I said, once again, if you don't book your appointment, go book your appointment as soon as possible. Or I already have my next 3 hours booked already, so I will be busy on 3 hours from now. So, but if you've not, you could go pack up your time there, and hopefully I will see you soon and learn more about your businesses there. So that's that from my own quarters. Now, Mr. Ison asked about startups that will be funded. I talked about, yes, I will take questions now. I just want to quickly address Mr. Ison's question. Businesses that are funded are businesses that are into the farming space, but then want to diversify into value addition, or want to capture more markets right? These are companies that were founded. Also, agri-tech companies that are using tech to enable their agricultural businesses. It could be e-commerce or otherwise, right? And those are people that are looking to be funded, as well as those that are already in the value addition space. Of course, you're moving products, agricultural products. We can also help ensure that you reach wider market. So these are the kind of companies that are funded. It's not exhaustive, but that's the best description of those that are prioritized. But of course, other part of the sector in the agriculture sector are open to. It's open to them. Just depend on how they are running their operations, basically. Thank you. I think I've answered some questions like that. But if you need more details, of course, the recorded version will work. All right, Mr. James, you can ask your questions. Thank you.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Mr. Adeniyi. Um, yeah, I actually want to ask, based on what you said earlier, that these startups are, I mean, that a company are looking to fund startups, and I just want to know exactly, like, do they have kind of um, criteria based on maybe the number of years you've actually spent in this business, or for you to be eligible? And again, you made mention of traction. For startups that have not really had a big kind of market in terms of sales and all of so, what is their choice? And yeah, like they have not really had a big, market based on the fact that maybe they just started earlier, or they are just 1 year old, or even not up a year old, or something like that. Then this is actually a maybe very big portion of sure generating different and just kind of having startup capital issue and all of that to really venture into their operations and so on. So I do want to understand more about that. But then I think I would explain more maybe when I have my personal with so they understand my band and what I do to.
All right, Mr. But that's fine. You can raise down your hand now. Yes, we are not particular of the fact how long we've been existing. Actually, it's that part of the past that happening exact for me, right? But I was at the very beginning of the past, I had some questions like that, right? I was there to see things in, right? And at the time, the duration wasn't really that much of a factor. However, a minimum of 2 years is just what I think I gathered, which I placed in the message that I created for my committees. Right, I sent the link to, right? At least I there to have more extract, right? At a minimum. Now, it's not different entirely. How would able to know you've been say you're there for 5, 6 and bring out action looks like 6 months or a year? Then the question is, what have that business been doing for 6 years or more, right? So those things are things that, of course, we want to make sure that we have good clarity on, so we are able to access better. Now, in terms of action, right, in terms of types, right, hold on, how will that brought? If, for example, you spent 1,000 and that 1,000 naira brought you a traction that is sensible, right? What happens when we give you more? Right? That is a window to us understanding what happens when you have more, right? Right? That's what we look out for. When it's traction on it, not action, two same company could start the same date, the same day, with the same day results within the number. And what the of these different approaches in their businesses. So these are things that I will be looking out for when we talk personally, right? Outside, of course, for those that eventually do not go through this vested word of the thing, of course, vested words usually have this thing they call routine, where they follow the progress that apply them. But once next time, then about you, right? What you have improvements, anything you would like to hear you've gotten into again. These are things I'm still like hearing, right? Okay, this is the last time you spoke with us. Have there been any measurable improvement in what you're doing? These are things that catches the attention of vested words. So of course there's those parts. And then when we have a private session, you could be open to discuss more about all these things violate and even outside of course, if your job would be what you think got together and ready to want to punch out there. Of course, my duty as well is to point in the right directions, and then of course if you put together series of documents, series of appearance that would ensure that when you apply for some things you get it right, as but not put it out there and give you a chance, because when you are identifying that be application is true, if you have could push your film on what to be said for that particular thing that you're looking for. But as I said, for apply for this particular funding, of course, your traction is going to be based on the approach you've used in getting it and the resources you have employed in getting it. It's not entirely about the volume, it's about what has been injected and what value had been gotten out of what was injected, right? And I said, averagely minimum 2 years. But doesn't mean that if there's someone that has 1 year and that 1 year has done something very, very meaningful, right? And does something very captivating. Of course, they could also be given a chance. It's not like literally written in stones that with 2 years they disqualify. No, nobody's disqualified. It's just a preferable metric when we say minimum of 2 years traction. So I hope I was able to answer your question, Mr. James.
All right. Yes. Thank you very much.
That's fine. That's fine. Thank you. Does anybody have any question as well? Any other questions? This is 10:45. If there are no questions, we'll just wrap up there. If there are questions, kindly ask right now about your business, about the funding companies, whatever it is you want to ask, you can ask right now. All right, I think just for the sake of those that eventually would be listening to this recording, you have questions, you would always leave your questions in a WhatsApp message or in, of course, I'm going to be sharing this through my podcast sessions. So you could always leave a comment on my podcast, and I'm certain you will get your response eventually. Thank you. So, Yusuf Ololade, you raised up your hand.
Yes, sir. Good morning. You said you are going to guide us with our pitch deck because I already have one pitch deck already, but I don't think it's kind of detailed like that. Are you going to guide us with it? Oh, and I wanted to upload it when I want to do the registration, but I was not able to do that. I don't know why. So what's the cost, sir? And then are you going to guide us with it? And I will send it to you. I've already booked an appointment now. Probably you can set up it when we're having the what's it called meeting. Do you get the message, sir?
I do. I do very much get what you're saying. That's fine. We'll look at the pitch deck and then we'll see what we're dealing with. And then even if it's working on, we'll work on it. All right. You're welcome. Are there any more questions?
Not really. Sir.
Thank you so much, Yusuf.
Yes, sir.
All right. Any more questions as we wrap up? Any more questions? All right. If there are no more questions, then thank you so much for your time today. I look forward to talking to you in the private sessions, and I hope that we can build something really really good together. So with the picture during the presentation, okay, James said he submitted his own. Well, I hope we both look at it together during personal intersection. All right, yes, we'll look into that as much as possible. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Bye.
Bye bye.
Yeah, bye.
Bye bye. Thank you.
Bye,
Thank you,
bye.
sir.